Hello, everyone. I would like to apologize in advance if I'm coughing through this. I'm getting over a cold. My name is Sebastian, and today I want to share something a little personal. It's a band that's had a pretty unusual impact on me as a listener and as like an overall person. The band is called Pinegrove. I first discovered them in, I believe, 2023 because of this TikTok trend, actually. It was called the Pinegrove Shuffle, where there would be one of their songs. It was called Need To playing in the background, and people would be doing this dance where it kind of looked like they were running in place. That's not important, but it was like this viral trend for a while. That's how I discovered them. I didn't think much of them after that, but the song stuck with me. And a couple weeks later, I checked out the band and I fell in love with the music they made. And it wasn't like overly polished or anything. It felt very genuine, and I really like the band. They're probably my favorite band right now. So even if you've never heard of the band, what makes them really cool to talk about is that they've built this following not because they're like these big personalities, these plants, not because they're famous, but because they feel very human, very real. And I think that matters especially today when so much of our media, especially our music, is so artificial and so like beaten with the hammer to the point where it doesn't feel like anything anymore. So this speech focuses around three main ideas: where the band Pinegrove came from and what shaped them to what they are today, what makes their music and their lyrics unique, and how they've built their like cult-like community without being this chart-topping band. Starting with some backgrounds, Pinegrove started in 2010 in Montclair, New Jersey. It was just a few guys that were making music in their basement. They were formed by Evan Stevens Hall, if I think, yeah, that's how I'm pronouncing it. He wrote most of the lyrics, and Zach Levine, he plays the drums and handles the recording, and he handled a lot more of the technical aspects. The band was named after this pine grove in their hometown they used to walk by. Their first recordings were released independently, just uploaded on their Bandcamp online. They eventually had this mixtape. That's where the trend came from, and their mixtape is still one of their most popular works today, one of my favorites. But everything for them changed when they released this album, Cardinal, in 2016, their first album. It came out of nowhere, and it's still this indie cult classic. It's a really great piece, and since then they've released albums that cover so many other genres that lean into like Americana, some more jazz-like elements, albums like Skylight, like Marigold, 1111, and they stay true to the band's core sound, its identity, but they'll have like mixes of more, yeah, like I said earlier, folk, some emo, and other flavors of indie. It's not very fancy, but it feels very coherent for what the band wants to be. Onto the music itself, like I said earlier, the music feels very human. It doesn't feel very cliche, but very human. The production is really clean, but still raw. It makes sense, if it makes sense. You can hear the room they're playing in. If somebody coughs in the background, you hear that. You can hear fingers sliding on a fretboard. And sometimes it's nice to have the change of pace where you hear those imperfections in your music. What makes them really special is their lyrics. They're not like somebody telling a very personal story, like not from a first person view, but it's more about like the human experience, the ups, the downs, the nostalgia. And I'm a very nostalgic person, so that really sticks with me. And I think most people, not most people, but plenty of people can resonate with that and can take a lot from the band listening to them. Their lyrics are also full of references to nature and to color. So many of their songs are either just plain named after colors or after different types of birds, but the lyrics like have that story but tie into that theme of nature, that theme of like what a color feels like. It's kind of weird to talk about, but if you listen to the band, you'll know exactly what I mean. Finally, about their impact, even though they're not these big wigs like Drake, like Taylor Swift, they have a small but really dedicated fan base. They're called Pineheads. They have their own little corner of the internet. They talk about music. They share the art about the band, yada yada, and they have like a really unique relationship with the band itself, to where they're not just like a ton of people yelling at them on Twitter, but back in the like Midwest emo phase of indie, they would go to these places and their fans would just host them in their basement, and they played all these concerts in just some random people's house. This happened all the time, and it's really cool to see like a band do that nowadays. That's not just like some small town like band that you knew in high school. And maybe that's the point of like why I like them. You don't have to be huge to make such an impact like this band has. They have a few songs that have some real effort behind them that people can really connect with. To wrap things up, Pine Grove's a band that stays true to itself from their humble beginnings back in like, their parents' basement up in New York to their really raw and bare emotional sound. Sorry. It reminds us of a really human connection, and it doesn't need to be very flashy. It doesn't have to be a bunch of celebrities to have that impact really matter to an individual. So even if you don't listen to them, I hope you can take away the idea that authenticity should have a much bigger place in how we listen to music and who we look up to as like influencers online, even if like the personality's not the loudest in the room. Thanks for listening.